I'm going to give you a deck reading. But before I do that, I want to tell you this. So when your team approached me to do the show, I intentionally made an active choice that I wasn't going to watch or listen to any of the podcasts, and I wasn't going to dive into you much further than anything I already knew intentionally.
Okay.
But it was so interesting, and I was going to wait for this moment. Like, this was my moment that we were going to do everything. It was so interesting. I was immediately channeling you like a month ago. Like, so much energy comes through from you without the cards, which I just thought was absolutely fascinating and wonderful.
Is that a good thing or bad thing, I guess?
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So this is the messages I received before you and I sat down today.
Okay.
And it's sometimes when these things happen, it's less impressive, but you kind of touched a little bit on it in our dialogue here. But one of the things is that really came forward to me is sometimes we call it an old soul. You know, someone who's kind of done this round before, someone has a little bit more wisdom, a little bit more energy with them, and that's definitely you. Like, this is not your first rodeo. There's some past life stuff going on with you,
okay,
that you've done this before a little bit. And in this life, you are really diving into compassion. And really practicing what does that look like in the every day when we're working with different people with all aspects of your life, whether it's business, family, partnerships. There's this huge compassion piece. What was really clear to me, and I'm so glad we talked about family today, is one of the things that even driving over here came through. There was a huge piece about childhood, inner child stuff that came forward, and connected with that, there was a sense of, hear me out, there was a sense of sadness, a sense of pain, a sense of loss within that within that inner child space. And what's really interesting about it is a lot of times when we talk about pain or loss from our inner child, the things that happen in childhood, it usually or frequently indicates that there is pain that needs to be, we need to put it somewhere. We need to exhale it.
Yeah.
Right? It needs to be compartmentalized. What is so interesting about your spirit, and it was so exciting driving over here just thinking about it, is that you have already managed to channel that energy, to do that exhale, if you will, through compassion. You've managed to translate this into compassion for every aspect of your life. And within your family life, within your work life, within all these other pieces of yourself. And it comes through so strongly, this almost care for community, care for humanity, care for those individual people in my life so strongly. Driving over here, I was just like overwhelmed, like, this is really exciting.
Wow. Huh. Interesting.
How does that feel? Does that feel right for you?
The old soul totally feels right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Like, ever since I was a kid, like, I've always had this thing with, like, old people, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a thing. Like, you know, like, I just kind of relate well to, like, seniors and you know, and so, anyway, that's just, that's maybe because I grew up with my grandfather, really, mostly as my father figure. And so I've got a lot of respect for seniors and, but yeah, there's definitely some, you know, there's some things from my childhood that, I guess it wasn't painful per se, like no, like traumatic, but just stuff, right?
Stuff.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. So I like to give positive energy. Like, I'm very conscious of that. Like, that's a big part of my character and who I like to be and how I show up on this earth is just energy and being aware of negative and positive energy. So that's something that I try to practice. Yeah.
You're definitely practicing it because I felt it all the way in Calabasas a month ago. Is there anything specific you want to know from the cards?
I don't even know how to answer that. Like,
whatever message I'm meant to hear, I'm open to hearing.
Yeah, whatever message I'm
All right, let's do
meant
it.
to hear,
I
I'm
love
open
that.
to hearing.
I'm going to slide these over to you. I'm
Okay.
going to ask you to cut the deck.
Okay. For those that are listening, there's cards that look like playing cards, and I just cut the deck.
All right.
Okay. There we go. Sliding them back over.
All right. So that's beautiful so far. So that's you.
That's me. It's a yellow
That's
card.
you.
Okay.
Got the magician.
And there's it looks like what is a angel wearing like a red jacket or something.
Excellent. It's
Yes.
the magician.
Okay.
So this is magic.
This is magic.
This is magic. This is somebody who's able to transform darkness into light.
Okay.
And this is you. So this card in this position is representing you. This is somebody who's able to take what's happening around them, that energy you just spoke about, and transform it. So that's like the alchemist. That's you. That is you.
Got it.
That's so interesting. So
Second card is a heart with 3 swords through it.
yes. And what do you think this card means just from its image? This one's a very clear one to practice with.
That I got my heart broken or something?
It's kind of what it looks like, right? There's more to it, but this card in a relationship reading, bad card.
It's a bad card.
Bad card. That's a sad card.
Okay.
But here's the tricky part about tarot. They're not always, they look bad, they look scary. It doesn't always mean that.
Okay.
So this is the piece that I think goes into what I was talking about earlier that I was sensing from you of transforming loss, transforming pain. And it doesn't have to be big like tragedy, like, oh my God, terrible things happening. But that energy processing that you were talking about is transforming that.
Got it.
Again, with this magician taking anything that's negative or on the downside and being able to translate it and to process it into something new. So this card itself might look like, oh my gosh, I'm about to go through a breakup or a heartache. But the fact that it's sitting with the magician, which we know transforms things, that's magical. That actually just kind of solidifies like who you are and your energy and where you're at, like in a real transformative space.
Okay.
Yeah, following?
Following,
All
yeah.
right, let's do this. Oh, these are really great cards for a teaching lesson. I love
Okay.
it. I love it. Okay. This card looks also really scary.
It looks like a knight on a horse. It's black and white, and there's somebody that is yellow. Yeah.
Death.
And it says death.
So people have never been introduced to this are like, oh my gosh, that's terrible. How it's awful. How occult. So death is another example of a card that can look really scary. But death is transformation. So we just talked about transformation in these previous two cards. And here it's also talking about transformation. You are transforming right now. You are definitely, if there was any doubts about in a transition period going from one space to another, you're in it. Because what's death? Okay, death is the end of one cycle, but it signifies the beginning of another cycle. So death doesn't mean someone's going to die. Doesn't necessarily mean things are terrible. But it's talking about how things are, one cycle's closing and the other one's opening. So again, there's transition going on with you. You're moving to a new plane, a new level, a new phase of the journey.